To win a business box of bagels from Bagels and Joe, all you have to do is shut up, Simple. 2 questions for you, 2 for Sip. Win, and the bagels are yours. Lose, well, you don't want to lose.
You lost Monday. You lost Wednesday. You're a loser.
Shut up, Simple. Weekday mornings at 7:30, brought to you by Bagels and Joe.
Homeowners, is your yard in distress? Is your lawn being held hostage by stubborn and unruly weeds? Never fear, lawn lovers. Weedman is here. We'll rescue your lawn and restore its beautiful emerald green glory. The results of our expertly applied program are sure to impress the toughest of critics, your neighbors. Take that, Dale. Vanquish weeds and transform your lawn this year with Weedman Lawn Care. Get 50% off your first application. Go to weedman.com today. Terms and conditions apply. Go to weedman.com today.
This is Lincoln's home for sports talk on the FM dial. Also online at theticketfm.com. On the internet, KNTK FM Firth, 93.7 The Ticket. This is Sunday Rewind.
Take it back now, y'all.
Down, flip it and reverse it.
On 93.7 The Ticket and theticketfm.com. Now, here are your hosts, Tom Stevens and Mike Melby.
Welcome in, kids. Tom Stevens, Mike Melby, Husker Rewind, every Sunday, 5 to 7. How are you, Mike?
Doing good.
Good. You
Enjoyed the afternoon.
You were not here last week. You were racing.
Yeah, out with Tyke Jensen in the 24, and we got a couple of laps in at Eagle, and set ready. We're going to make our season debut next Saturday out there.
So you're on the pit crew, basically?
Yep.
And so what's your job at the pit crew? I mean,
I would just do whatever, man.
Yeah.
Brian is kind of the crew chief. He knows him and Tyke and Adam Grossenbach, who help us. Brian Bailey and Adam, those guys are phenomenal.
Yeah.
Troy, a guy that helps us out tremendously. Just we're going racing. We're having some fun. I don't know. We were really happy with the way the week went. We got made a couple of changes to the car in between hot lap sessions and found something that helped a little bit, and still got some
awesome.
work to
So
do.
you're excited about the year.
Oh, I'm stoked, man.
Next Saturday night, what time will you race? It starts at 6, right?
6:30, I think, is when they start the heat races.
Go see Mike. He'll be in the pit crew. And your guy's name, Tyke
Jensen.
Tyke Jensen. So that's cool. In fact, we'll only be doing shows up until May 19th, I want to say. That's our last show because of the racing season, and in part because Husker football, there's not a lot to talk about during the summer. Same with Husker basketball and baseball. A little baseball. We could have stayed on, and certainly during the baseball season, and they're having a good one this year. But we're retiring for the year until August for a couple of months. Yeah, for the couple of months. Then we'll be back in August when football season kicks off. But our last show will be May 19th, in part because of the racing season. Busy show tonight. Tom Chattel is on, of course, of the Omaha World Herald, columnist for the Omaha World Herald, been there forever. Also, Evan Bland will be talking a little baseball with us, and Lance Harvell. Big win for Nebraska baseball. Of course, Lance runs the offense for Nebraska baseball, has been an assistant coach for the last 4 years with, of course, Will Bolt and company. And they got they didn't get the sweep, but they got 2 out of 3 versus Maryland this weekend. They win on Friday night behind Sears, who has been fantastic. They fall on Saturday, 11-2, and then they went today in the mercy rule fashion, 16-4 over Maryland.
Kyle Perry's reaction as he's walking off the mound was priceless.
I missed that.
Yeah, they sent out a tweet with it a while ago, and it's pretty comical.
I love Kyle Perry. He is 24, so he's the old man on this team. Kyle Perry's been around the block a few times. If they're going to make the postseason, they're going to need him. Pitches up in mop-up duty today, but he has pitched well from time to time this year. Let's get to the opening kickoff.
Lasher will kick it off for Oklahoma. The Sooners are in white. We are in Lincoln, Nebraska, and we are ready to go.
We are ready to go, and I think I'm going to start with what is, I guess we could call it somewhat breaking news. It's about 2 hours old, but Nebraska basketball has landed Connor Esijan from the University of Wisconsin. He is a young man who I think he was Big Ten all-freshman team.
Yeah, he was on the all-freshman team, averaged 12 points a game.
Yeah, and then had an injury and never really got out of Greg Gard's doghouse.
Yeah.
After an injury, the guard kind of made some slights towards him and his effort on the defensive end. Whatever, Greg.
Yeah, I don't think he's the easiest guy. I don't think Bo Ryan was easy to play for,
No.
and I don't think Greg Gard's easy to play for at all. I mean, guys are leaving there. I know that's the way of the world in college basketball now, but Chucky is leaving. I mean, Esijan, you could have predicted that, but there are a few other guys leaving. And I think in part it's because their NIL is not the biggest. I think they have a problem with NIL, and Greg Gard is so old school.
You know who does not have a problem with NIL? Michigan State, because reportedly they're going to pay Chucky Hepburn $700,000.
We'll see if that happens.
Yeah, but
I think Chucky can get it.
Yeah, but
if not at Michigan State, somewhere else.
Yeah, I think look for Chucky and Frankie Fiddler to go to Michigan State.
Yeah,
and then their old high school teammate as well. I can't remember his name right now. Anyway, they're talking about.
There's a three-way thing.
Yeah,
going on.
Somebody else may be headed that way. Nebraska basketball did pick up a couple of portal commitments as well earlier this week. Utah point guard Raleigh Worcester and former Rutgers sharpshooter Gavin Griffiths have committed to Nebraska. And let's see here. That's about it right now. There's a little bit of smoke with Vidarius Payne from Minnesota, although there's some late stuff that I heard that he might be a lean towards the Aggies down in College Station. But he was one that I think late last week, everything I had heard was pointing towards a Nebraska commitment, but that evidently has changed a little bit. Nebraska's still in the running, but
you don't know what the promises are made when these guys visit or they don't visit. Apparently he canceled his visit. He was coming and then he wasn't coming. And as you said, maybe he's an A&M lean. I think they like the fact that they are in good standing with William Kyle, who was the Summit Defensive Player of the Year, 6'9", 230.
Yeah.
Really good defensive player, solid offensive player. And I think they've got a chance, according to Robin Washut. I read an article from Robin Washut of Husker Online saying that they think they've got a chance with Igor Milicic, who's from Charlotte, played with Bryce Williams at Charlotte, and he's a 14-7 guy. He's also visiting, apparently, this week, Tennessee and Baylor. So, anything could happen if with those two schools. Sometimes it's a matter of, hey, we got our guy. We don't need you to visit anymore. Or you can visit and we'd still take you, but we already got our guy, Yeah. That's what happens with portal recruiting now. It's like, yeah, we'd love to have you for depth purposes, but you're probably not going to get the minutes we told you were going to get originally. Those are not every coach is that honest, but portal recruiting is just weird to me. It's free agency.
Well, yeah, that's the most bizarre thing. And I still just don't get the NCAA allowing the portal to be open during the season while the NCAA tournament is still going on. I don't care if your team's not in it anymore, not playing, but I just don't get how that's it. But it is what it is.
Hurley complained about that,
yeah,
big time at UConn. Well, he needs to complain.
Well, back-to-back titles. He's got a lot to say. Nebraska baseball sits at 25-12 after winning a 3-game series with Maryland this weekend at Haymarket Park. 6-3 winners were the Huskers on Friday night, and they got blown out 11-2 yesterday. Came back 16-4. They pick up the victory today. They host Kansas on Tuesday, and Iowa comes to town next weekend. We'll have Lance Harvell on tonight's show at 6 o'clock. Nebraska softball is now 25-19. They got swept at Michigan this weekend. They lost 4-3 in 9 innings on Friday, 6-5 yesterday, and got blown out 11-2 today. They play a doubleheader against Iowa on Tuesday at Bullen Stadium before hosting Northwestern next weekend at home. Spring football is a week away from wrapping up with the spring game next Saturday. From what has been reported, it's sounding like the offense has really started to come together. All 3 quarterbacks playing really, really well. Heinrich Harburg led a 99-yard touchdown drive. Dylan Raiola continues to show off all the skills that he has and show why he was so sought after coming out of high school ranks last year. Emmett Johnson has shined at running back, and man, there is a host of receivers that are making a big push for playing time. You're hearing Demetrius Bell. Your Jalen Lloyd is like a totally different player now. Jamal Banks, Nayor. There's a lot.
They've got some options this year.
So that's going to kind of wrap up the opening kick, but all kinds of Husker stuff going on.
Of course, we mentioned Nebraska baseball wins 2 out of 3. They're in the middle of an 8-game homestand. So, as you mentioned, Tuesday night with Kansas, and then they've got the weekend series with Iowa. And I'll show up to that if it's nice weather because we all hate Iowa. It's fun to go root against Iowa. And now you can drink a beer.
Yeah,
at
I
Haymarket
know.
Park.
And it's I'm just going to say it's about damn time. I'm happy. So, Tom, in case you had not seen it, go to Nebraska Baseball's Twitter feed, and you can see here, Tommy, watch this. Kyle Perry's reaction as he's told, hey, it's a run rule. Game's over. We don't got to go back to the dugout. We can celebrate.
He's running around like a chicken. I mean, because that doesn't happen every day that you get, mercy ruled.
Yeah.
So yeah. I would imagine that happens. I saw somebody in Major League Baseball. I can't remember who the reliever was, but he got his 100th or 200th save, and the guy took it and threw it to a fan in the stands. And that happens all the time.
Yeah.
I remember going to a Cubs game, and the Astros hit a home run. And if the opposing team hits a home run at Wrigley, you're supposed to throw it back.
Yeah.
Well, this guy wanted the baseball.
Oh, I would.
He didn't want to throw it back, and Cub fans were about to kill him. Like he had to have 2 security guards escort him out of the building so he could keep his baseball because he didn't want to throw it back. But This type of stuff, I mean, I don't know how I got that from Kyle Perry, but that happens. You get a little confused, you throw it in the stands, and you realize, wait a minute, I shouldn't have done that. That was his 200 save or something like that.
Yeah, Kevin Suits from 1011 is the one who tweeted out the video with Kyle Perry. He's like, whoa, hey, game over. Yeah, all right, I'm in.
We should get Kyle Perry's number because I hear he's fantastic on the radio. I know he's had a show on the ticket in the past.
Yeah.
We're going to have Lance Harvell.
Yep, we'll have him at 6 o'clock tonight.
Who really should have his own show as well.
True.
He practically does because we have him on every week that we can possibly have him on. And this feels like one of those years where, there's still a chance if they get hot. I mean, they had won 10 in a row, and then they lost 4 of 6 or whatever it was. And now they've won 2 of 3 again. This is a team that, if they got hot again, they could host. They could host.
They can't. I mean, anything's possible, but at the same time,
second place right now in the Big Ten, 8-4. Illinois, I think 9-2 or 10-2. Illinois first place. They're 9-2. Nebraska's 8-4. Purdue is 8-4. Michigan's 10-5. But you look at the Big Ten standings and you think, okay, that's a nice record in the league. And then you look at their overall record and you think, and this team, like Michigan, is 10-5 in the league, but they're like 500 overall.
Yeah, they're 20-21 overall.
So you wonder how many teams. It's very rare if more than 3 teams from the Big Ten make the NCAA tournament. It's just the way it is.
Yeah. Yeah, and I think right now there's realistically only 3 that I think are, I don't want to say locks, but you would have to consider really close to being a lock, and that is Nebraska, Illinois, and Purdue. You've got Purdue sitting at 25-15, Nebraska 25-12, 23-13 for Illinois. Next up at 22-15, 9-6 conference record, Iowa. But then it's how is that strength of schedule? And I don't know that they're real high in the NET rankings. So we'll see what happens though. I mean, Big Ten tournament coming up, that may settle it. You may have a team that gets hot in the Big Ten tournament and they steal a bid.
We thought the pitching, and maybe it still will be down the stretch, would be the strength of Nebraska. And Sears has been incredible. One of the top 10 pitchers in college baseball. But then Mason McConaughey really got roughed up on Saturday. He only lasted an inning and a third, allowed 5 runs and 5 hits. But then Will Walsh, who has been solid, but he's mostly been your midweek guy, now moved to Sunday, pitched pretty well today. He didn't need to pitch great because Nebraska won 16-4. But Nebraska needs, I think, to figure out who's your everyday closer. Worthy did well. Jalen Worthy did well in that role, backing up Sears on Friday night. But they need to settle on a closer, and they need Kyle Perry, as you mentioned, to be Kyle Perry again. But I think Nebraska baseball is certainly on track to make the NCAA tournament. They're not on track right now to host. They would have to get red hot to do that. So there you go. We're going to talk a lot about Nebraska hoops probably in the next hour. You mentioned Connor Esigian committed. Was the freshman of the year, or it wasn't freshman of the year, but he was on the all freshman team.
Yeah, 2 years ago.
And that was 2 years ago. Then he had the sophomore slump, the back injury. We'll see if he can get back to that freshman type of performance. We've seen this before, though. Fred will take guys sometimes that have struggled shooting the basketball, and then they get to Nebraska, and they remember that they can shoot the ball again. Sometimes it's been the reverse. They get guys that are really good shooters, and they get to Nebraska, and it hasn't been good. But they've got some guys that I think are going to be able to shoot it at a pretty high level. I really like Gavin Griffiths. I like Esigian. I think that Gary has certainly improved his shot. We know that Bryce Williams can shoot the ball. If Rink Mass come back, if he does come back, and it sounds like he will, you've got a guy. Yeah, he'll need knee surgery, but he can shoot the ball and he can stretch the floor. They don't have a Keisei Tamanaga on this roster, but they have a lot of really solid shooters.
Yeah, they do, and it all depends on. I mean, Nick Janowski's going to come in as a freshman.
That's a name I should have mentioned.
Yeah, you don't expect him to come in and shoot 43% and be, an Big Ten all freshman team candidate, but who knows? I mean,
31 points a game.
Yeah, he was pretty solid in high school. Connor Esigian, granted, he was 30.3% from three last year, but 36% three-point shooter as a freshman.
Yeah.
Pretty solid numbers, and I would like to think, based on what we have already seen Fred Hoiberg do with guys, I would imagine you're going to see a return to the 36 to 38% with Esigian next year. And there's still nothing official from Rink Mast about whether or not he is going to come back and play his sixth season of eligibility here at Nebraska next year.
He's a guy that doesn't necessarily have to score to be effective.
Well, yeah.
His plus minus when he's on the floor, Nebraska's just a better basketball team. Whether he's rebounding, shooting, distributing. He's probably the best passer that Nebraska has. He was a point center for Nebraska because Nebraska didn't have a real point guard. They probably will this year.
They do. They'll have Aaron Eulis, and they've got Raleigh Wooster.
Yeah.
So
and then Rink, and then Bryce, can do it. So they've got multiple guys. As we've said before, Fred doesn't always need a point guard in his offense the way they play, but it would sure help. You mentioned this. I don't know if you mentioned this or I mentioned this, but Chucky, the possibility of him going to Michigan State with Frankie Fiddler, and there has been word that he might get $700,000 in that neighborhood. I don't know if it's true because I hear these numbers and I just can't believe them. What players cost these days. But he did make a big deal. There was an article in the paper today. I don't remember who wrote it. I think it was a Wisconsin beat writer who talked about how hurt he was that Chucky had made all these promises, that said he's a Badger for life. He got the tattoo on his arm. And then he says, you know what? I can make $700,000. See ya. And I don't blame Chucky for that. I wish he would be a Husker, and it's not official. I guess it's still possible that he could be a Husker or a Blue Jay for that matter.
Tell the Peds to write a check for $701,000.
There you go. I would love to have it, but it just don't tell me anymore that if you're Trev Alberts, you're a Husker for life, or if you're Chucky, you're a Badger for life, or whoever. Because now in this day and age where it's free agency, it just sounds disingenuous.
Well, Troy Dannon, don't tell Washington.
Yeah, same thing.
That you're home.
Same thing.
I mean, come on.
Same thing. It feels like Bill Moose did some of that.
Yeah.
Not that it was his fault that he left Nebraska. He was kind of fired. But
he was unceremoniously informed that maybe since he already spent 3/4 of his time at the ranch, he could probably just spend all of his time there.
Yeah. I think you said it best. We were talking to Jim Rose, and you said, I can't wait to stay, get to work here at Washington. I'm a Husky for life. And then Nebraska calls, peace out. It's basically how it happened. I don't blame Dannon for it, but maybe you should I think guys going forward will just be more careful about their words.
I don't think they will. I think you'll have some guy that's going to take an AD job or a head coaching job somewhere, and he's going to be like, "Man, this is my dream job.
Yeah.
I'm never going anywhere." And 2 weeks later, he's like, So,
but
I got this phone call.
But you've always heard a bit of that from coaches, because they're always going to be courted. You haven't heard as much of it from players until now.
Well, but players didn't have the opportunities that they do today.
That's what I mean.
Even 3 or 4 years ago.
That's what I mean.
Yeah.
It's such a different world that players can become free agents and make the kind of money. I mean, that's crazy. That's crazy. $700,000. I thought we'd be at maybe 50 to 100. That's chump change, 50 to 100 in college athletics now.
Well, I mean, I can't wait until they finally just let the schools handle this and they give the schools a salary cap and however you want to use it. I mean, if you're Kansas, are you going to make your budget? Let's say for the sake of argument, each school gets $10 million for NIL for all of their sports.
By the way, Kansas just got AJ Storr, another Wisconsin player who was a stud in the NCAA tournament, or was a stud in the Big Ten tournament, and then played pretty well in the NCAA tournament. They lost in the first round, but
yeah, but so if you're Kansas, and for the sake of argument, just throw out a round number, $10 million. That's what the athletic department has to divvy up between the football, basketball, softball, volleyball teams, every sport you have, right? That's what you can pay the players. Now, granted, they can still go earn their own money by NIL deals, because I can't see that going away.
That's not going away.
But so the university then has to make a decision. Okay, we have $10 million. Are we going to put $5 million towards football at Kansas, or are we going to put $5 million towards basketball?
Well, and I think you're hearing more and more donors say, why should I be giving you money? I just gave you money for the Go Big project. Now the Tom Osborne facility, whatever it's called, is named on everything this weekend by the regions. So it's the new Tom Osborne facility. But why should I give you more money for Tom Osborne Field and Memorial Stadium when we really need players? I would rather just give that money to NIL. I think that's where you're going to see boosters give all their money now.
Yeah,
instead of big donations for new stadiums or remodeled stadiums.
Yeah, unless you've got somebody that's got a checkbook that can handle writing that hefty of a check that
Warren
literally
Buffett.
That's never going to happen. But that just simply wants their name on the building.
They just need to get him. I know he doesn't drink, but just get him a little tipsy and write $1 billion. That just maybe he thinks he's signing for the dinner check, and you get him a $1 billion check to Nebraska. All your problems are solved.
It's a
all
nice,
of them.
Nice tip.
Yeah.
So
I've heard this about Warren Buffett, that like he looks at the stock market every morning, and he has this dish in the kitchen, and he decides whether or not he can go to McDonald's and get an Egg McMuffin that day based on what the stock market did yesterday.
Well, I would envision some days he probably has 2 Egg McMuffins.
I think you could afford it. Maybe the stock market's a little off. You could have the second Egg McMuffin, Warren. Let's get to break. He's Mike Melby. I'm Tom Stevens. It's Husker Rewind. We do it every single Sunday, 5 to 7. Back with more.
NEBCO is hiring CDL drivers for ready-mixed concrete, Husker Concrete, and Beatrice Concrete. NEBCO offers great pay, medical and retirement benefits, paid time off, and they pay for CDL training. Apply today and start your new career with a $2,500 hiring bonus. From NEBCO's beginning in 1908, it's the employees that have formed the company's solid foundation. Start your career today. Visit nebcoinc.com. That's NEBCOINC.com.
John Henry's has a brand new membership club to protect your entire home in one program. With a VIP and a deluxe option, we will help you find the plan that best fits your needs. Receive discounts on services and equipment, priority service, complimentary inspections, and so much more. Protect your home's plumbing, heating, cooling, and electrical systems all in one membership. Call John Henry's to learn more.
435-5555. John Henry's Plumbing, Heating and Air,
and Electrical.
Hey, Nebraska! Register today for the 40th Annual Cornhusker State Games, taking place July 11th through the 21st in Lincoln, Omaha, and other Nebraska communities. The Cornhusker State Games features 70 sports for athletes of all ages and abilities. Price increases are approaching, so register early and save. For details, go to cornhuskerstategames.com. If you've experienced a sports injury, joint or back pain, Trust your care to Nebraska Orthopedic Center, a proud platinum partner of the Cornhusker State Games.
Rico here with HIS Auto Care at 70th and Van Dorn, letting you know HIS is a great place to bring your vehicle for service. With superior service, bumper to bumper, we'll treat your vehicle like it's your mother's. Doesn't get any better than that. So call 402-488-8934 and HIS Auto will make you glad you did. 5% off, mention this ad, and for sure your mother will be proud you called. 402-488-8934, HIS Auto Care, 70th and Van Dorn. God bless you.
Wall-to-Wall Wine and Spirits is your place in North Lincoln to go for all your needs in wine, spirits, and beer. They also have a large variety of cigars in their walk-in humidor, and they have a top-notch walk-in, temperature-controlled, high-end wine room. Plus, you can enjoy free samples from their tasting bar. There's only one place to go for all your needs for spirits and cigars, Wall-to-Wall Wine and Spirits on North 27th Street in Lincoln.
On the Block with Strick and Austin.
When you're in New York, Nick, in New York, I mean, you're talking about, you see mafioso types. You go into a restaurant and you would literally eat. Hey, come on over here. You know, they you know, I don't know how to say it. I don't got the accent, but they would say, come, Strick, come here, come over. Have a drink on me. And what are you going to do? Say no?
You not say
you
no
don't
to that?
say no to the drink. You don't say no.
Weekdays from 2 to 4 on 93.7 The Ticket and theticketfm.com.
Take your internet service to new levels with Allo, your award-winning internet provider across our fiber hoods. Allo isn't just about the fastest internet available. It's about connecting you to your world, work, and play seamlessly. Our award-winning service ensures affordable, secure, and reliable connectivity, setting us apart. Ready to transform your internet experience? Experience the fiber difference today. Sign up now at allofiber.com. Allo, connecting your world.
Spring is here. It's time to get back outside and into proper shoes this year. Brown Shoe Fit is the place to buy this spring with their sale on athletic shoes. Get $15 off any regular price athletic shoes with respected brands like Hoka, Brooks, New Balance, and On Running. And don't forget, Browns carries a large arrangement of sizes and widths to fit your feet properly. Start your spring off right at Brown Shoe Fit, just south of 66th and Q in Lincoln. 93.7 The Ticket is proud to provide listeners with daily opportunities to win contests and prizes on our airwaves, and would like to take this opportunity to remind you of a couple rules. All participants must be 21 or older and must wait 30 days after winning a prize before participating in another contest. Once you win, you have 30 days to pick up your prize at the K&TK Studios, 1040 O Street in Lincoln, or your prize will be forfeit. Thank you for participating in our contest, and thank you for listening to 93.7 The Ticket.
This is Sunday Rewind on 93.7 The Ticket and theticketfm.com.
And welcome back to Husker Rewind here on 93.7 The Ticket and theticketfm.com. That is Tom Stevens. Hello. I am Mike Melby, and on the Allo VIP line, we have the Omaha World Herald's Mr. Tom Chattel. Tom, how is your Sunday going?
Sunday. It turned to be a nice day.
Oh, it really is nice
Beautiful
out.
day.
Hey, I want to start things off with you on the article you wrote that's in the paper this morning about UNO and UNK. I found it fascinating. I've heard the rumblings as well as, everybody else for, all these years. And it goes back to like Trev's real first act when he was at UNO. And it's, the way he handled the wrestling program specifically was very unfortunate. But tell me how that article came about and maybe some nuggets that got left out that you could share with people.
Yeah, that's been a topic. Recent years that's sort of come up. I remember 2 or 3 years ago that rumor was going around that if not Ted Carter, that there was some rumblings about, Nebraska is going to put everybody under one umbrella, and everybody will be in the University of Nebraska, which they kind of are now, but it would be more official. And that, if everybody's one school, you wouldn't necessarily need 2 basketball programs or 3. You'd need 1. You wouldn't need 2 baseball. You wouldn't need so on down the line. Well, Nebraska Huskers don't have hockey. So, but the hockey, UNO would be like the Husker hockey. And boy, you should have seen the blood pressures go up around UNO. Now the Maverick fans, I know, the people who supported them for years. And so that was just a rumor nobody really wrote about a few years ago. Well, Ted Carter made it official on his way out the door. He brought it up. Our very, very good investigative writer, Henry Cordes, made some calls, did some interviews, and did a great piece 2 weeks ago saying that this is everything's on the table now. And the reason it's on the table is, I cover sports. I don't cover classrooms. I don't cover the chemistry lab. But apparently Nebraska's academics are almost at the bottom of the Big Ten in all the categories. Plus, they don't have the AAU. So they're feeling the heat. I don't think Nebraska's been told they're going to get booted. I don't remember any school being booted from a conference in my lifetime. Maybe that's happened, but I don't remember it. And so, but in my opinion, I think the Big Ten has told Nebraska, get your act together, and start to and kind of shape it up, and you need to be look more like a Big Ten school. Because let's face it, guys, realignment is about football and about money, and it always has been. Even when the Big Ten started it by taking in Penn State, it wasn't about Penn State libraries. It was about we're going to start the Big Ten network, and wouldn't it be great to have an East Coast school? So it's always been about money. Nebraska coming in was about money, and how to make more money. So,
exactly.
You know what I mean? So I don't think Nebraska's going to get booted out of the Big Ten. But I do think that they were told to kind of shape up the academics. So now, if you're UNO spent the last 10 years, most of them under Trev Alberts, building up their brand, changing to Omaha, going Division I, being on their own with basketball and baseball, going to the NCAA tournament, baseball, volleyball just went. So they're really excited about being Omaha. They aren't very excited about being Nebraska Omaha anymore. But, they're so tied to the mothership. And the mothership's needs and priorities are gonna be front and center and more important than anything that happens at UNO or UNK. So that's just the way it is. So what I think will happen is they will create a new logo. It'll be a big block N, and everybody will have that logo. And UNO's might be red or black. Nebraska, Lincoln will be red. Kearney could be blue. And it'll be like Minnesota has several, affiliated schools that are part of the University of Minnesota system. Michigan has that. To me, the key element here is the Med Center. And I don't know why they couldn't get that Med Center and UNL affiliated or tied together somehow. If they get that done, I think they'll be back in the AAU. And it should be that way. So This is a way to get everybody together under the same umbrella and show the Big Ten and the AAU, look at us, we've got our academics are our priority now. We're getting all this together. And the Med Center is going to help the research numbers and so on and so forth. And meanwhile, what about Dylan Raiola? And what about Daniel Kaelin? We can get back to that. But that's kind of what this is about.
What about Dylan Raiola and Daniel Kaelin? Sounds like the offense won the day in the Saturday scrimmage. First time that's ever happened under Rule, according to Matt Rule. He said that they actually won the day. They played pretty well. He said, preface it by saying, they weren't getting hit. The quarterback isn't getting hit in their regular practices. And we read that a bunch of regular starters aren't playing in some of these scrimmages. So how much do you take from that when Matt Rule says the offense is winning the day?
It means somebody's throwing a pass and somebody's catching it. I mean, after the last several years, we haven't seen too much of that. We've seen some of it, but no. I'm excited about the quarterbacks. I'm okay with them not getting hit. I don't want anybody to get hurt right now. I'm okay with starters not necessarily being out there. I think that there's a smart way to do this in the spring, and I think more schools are probably going toward that. I just think it's going to be cool to see them out there and they just see what kind of poise they have, how, the touch they have on their passes, and who they're throwing to, what kind of patterns. I'm really, the offense will change a little bit. It seems like they came out last December and said, we want to be like the 49ers, so not sure that happens overnight. But I'm excited to see that, but I'm excited more because they've had quarterbacks it's been a roller coaster. I feel like the last 10 years or so. And, it's time to get that settled down. And it's good to have two guys who can be the guy. And, you don't have to settle it right now. You can go into the fall. But I love what Rule said earlier this week about, what am I supposed to do? If the offense has a good day, I'm mad at the defense. If the defense dominates, I'm mad at the offense. That's kind of what a head coach does. To keep everybody, keep them all motivated. So, but I've said this before, I think, to you guys, I really think the key to this spring, the most important thing is player leadership and, making those guys those guys serve as like coaches on the field, and they know what to do, and they're the enforcers. And something like that, they're getting toward that. Rule told me last week that in his previous stops at Temple and Baylor, it took 3 years to get to that point. He said that they're making progress there, but the best teams we've ever seen in Nebraska were led by the players. And of course, the system was intact, the culture was intact. There's a lot of coaching going on, but the players, the older guys, know what needs to be done, and they go get it done. So I think we're getting back a very major piece to the whole puzzle.
Tom Chattel from the Omaha World Herald joining us here on the Allo VIP line on 93.7 The Ticket. This is Husker Rewind. Tom, I want to change course a little bit and talk a little bit about Nebraska basketball. A couple hours ago, Connor Esigian announces his commitment. He joins Gavin Griffiths and Rolly Worcester from earlier this week. Andrew Morgan is already on board. Do you like this part of the basketball season? Everything's said and done, and granted, some guys are going to leave every year. But is this kind of fun to watch, and you try to put your own roster together for Fred, even though you don't really know who he's going after? Or is this one where you really kind of wish there was a lot more guardrails on the system?
I got to be honest. I have a love-hate relationship with the portal. I love it. The player developmental GM guy in me that we all have. I don't play fantasy football. Many do. That sort of, every sports fan has that sort of person in them. That I love that. It's a free agency of college basketball and football. But the old school guy in me hates that they leave, hates that they don't stick around to be developed. And so and just with a drop of the hat, they seem to leave. I love what Fred has done. He's got the program now, and I mean the culture is very much in place, and he knows what he wants to be, knows what kind of team he wants to have, and now he's getting guys in the portal, selecting them to fit what he's doing. And they're not just randomly getting a bunch of guys to go, okay, let's go get some guys, and they sound good, and let's try to see if we can get a team together. No, they know what they want, what they need, and they went out and got it. all these guys I've got from the portal, I don't know how good they are, but I like the fact that they're all have a role and that they're going to play a role, and they're going to have a point guard who can score, which is good too. So I'm excited about that part of it. That they lost some guys, but they got some guys back from last year. We're still waiting on Mast, but boy, they're not shy and going out and getting who they want. And it's like the Wisconsin guys always kill Nebraska, and maybe it's time for Nebraska guys to turn the tables a little bit.
Yeah. Well, you mentioned the Wisconsin guys, and a lot of Wisconsin. AJ Storr left, who was a rental. He's moving on to Kansas.
Right.
Chucky Hepburn is moving on to who knows where, but you're hearing that maybe he could make $700,000 at a place like Michigan State, and maybe Frankie Fiddler follows him. Apparently, Frankie's going to follow him because they're Bellevue West guys. But he's a guy in Chucky that had a tattoo of a badger on his forearm, said Badger for life. That I never thought we would get to this point where guys who are basically happy at their school say, well, I'm happy, but I'm going to go make more money.
Yeah, it's like they like to say, I put my time in. Now I've got 1 year left. Let's go cash in. Because I may or may not be an NBA guy, so let's go cash in now. If it's, I mean, I've hung around enough NIL guys at Creighton and Nebraska and even UNO to understand that the numbers you hear are overinflated. They're not accurate. So in the case of the KU guy getting $1 million, KU's got some money and they like to spend it on basketball. So I'm not so sure that's wrong, but we had a column in today's paper. We're affiliated with the Madison, Wisconsin paper, and so we run their stuff occasionally. We had a really nice column today about that topic. About the message was, how do you get a tattoo off? Because he said he was staying as late as March. He said he was staying, and then he's gone. The rumors out there are saying Louisville, and I was surprised by that because Chucky's got a year left. Louisville might have a hell of a coach, but he's new, and I don't know how many players they have. Is that a place that's going to make the tournament next year? I don't know. I mean, so maybe the money's that good, but maybe it isn't about making the tournament. Frankie, I love the kid. I think he should stay, but this is the old guy in me saying, he'd be the all-time leading scorer at UNO. They're going to raise a banner with his name on it in the arena. He'll be an all-time legend. He's from Omaha. He loves Omaha. I don't know if he starts anywhere else in the Big Ten. I just don't know if he's a starter. Michigan State, for goodness sakes. We've seen Michigan State starting 5, right? And those guys are usually big time recruits or big time players. So I don't know. I wish Frankie well whenever he does. Maybe he'd be okay coming off the bench and shooting threes. Maybe somebody's promised him a starting job. I don't know. But I do know UNO spent a lot of time this winter putting together an NIL package for him, and they made it very, very attractive. As one person at UNO told me, it's the biggest NIL package for a mid-major guy ever.
Wow.
So I think it's under 100, not over 100. It's under 100. I know that, but Frankie's still going to the coaches there. Tell me he's in the office every day. He's still shitting in the gym at UNO. So I don't know what's going on there, but I don't know that he and Chucky are necessarily a package deal. I don't know. Could be. But, yeah, to answer your question, I love it and I hate it. So, you know what I mean? It's if you're a coach, how do you, Greg McDermott at Creighton, he's got 2 guys who might come back, might not. How do you know what to get in the portal until they make up their minds? So these are frustrating deals for coaches.
Well, and Tom, I think what Chucky's going to wind up doing with the tattoo is he's just going to put a helmet on it and have the badger with a shield. And then he's going to color it green, and everything will be fine.
It'll be fine. There you go.
Can you imagine if he goes Sparty? I mean, the Big Ten Wars will be alive and well. I mean,
oh yeah,
that's pretty interesting if he would stay in the league. But the people at Creighton think he might be going there. We'll see. I thought he might be going to Lincoln, but maybe he didn't like being booed. I don't know. But but of course, they just got a point guard too. So you know what? We'll sit back and watch. This time of year has become a spectator sport in roster management.
Well, Tom, we'll see you, I guess, at the spring game. We'll look for you at the spring game next weekend.
I can't wait. And I'd appreciate your thoughts on this. Maybe I'm going to write about this week. Should the spring game be a serious thing? Should it be a fan festival? Should it be like a deal where you bring back the alumni and have like a touch football game or autograph booths? Or I mean, I don't know what it should be, but I feel like Nebraska's a big enough brand, a big enough fan base that there's a lot of potential there.
Well, Kirby Smart, I read, isn't worried about showing anything. I know a lot of these coaches are worried about showing anything, even during a spring game. So they're going to water fights and races and weird stuff like that. I think Rule's doing it, but he's going to go really vanilla. I'd like to see football, but I guess I'm, the last one that really I would like to see football. But I understand why coaches aren't doing it. I think
Husker fans are with you. Husker fans like football. The fun and games are okay for the kids. Maybe there's a way to have both, but they want to see football just so they understand it's going to be vanilla football. So
I think it'd be interesting to have a lineman area that they do drills and/or competition, and then they do a 7-on-7. And you have a game that's 7-on-7. And then you also have linemen that go through some type of competition.
7-on-7 would actually be kind of fun with Dylan Raiola. I mean, that would be fun.
I love that idea. Yeah. And the other thing is, didn't they divide the squad into 3 teams, and they're having these competitions?
Yeah.
Maybe you could kind of wind that into the spring game somehow.
Yeah. Oh, absolutely.
Great stuff as always, Tom. We'll have you back soon.
Thanks, guys.
All right,
appreciate it. Tom Chattel of the Omaha World Herald. Great stuff. Great column today in the Omaha World
about UNO, UNK, and all that.
Yeah.
Just before we go to break, I find it absolutely astounding the number of people who walk across O Street in front of our building not using the crosswalk. It's just
you're sounding like an old man. You are sounding like an old man,
and it's not even straight across. This dude just did
use the damn crosswalk.
He just did a 45 across, right in the middle of the block.
Yeah, little whippersnapper, walk the right way. Jay Walker. Let's get to. Is Jay Walker okay? Can you still say the word Jay Walker?
I believe so.
I think that's not offending anyone.
No, offending people is when you say Jaysker. So,
that's right. There you go.
That's offensive.
Well, let's get to break. Come back with more. Mike Melby there. Tom Stevens here at Husker Rewind.
Hi, it's Tom and Mike from Husker Rewind. And did you know that people who are represented by an attorney are often compensated up to 3 times more than someone who is not?
Friedman Law has been helping injured people for over 60 years. It's all they do. If you're ever seriously injured in an accident, call Friedman Law at 402-476-1093.
Friedman Law is a family firm that works hard for Nebraska families just like yours.
So if you're ever injured on the job or in a crash, contact Friedman Law at friedmanlaw.com.
Hi, I'm Senator Bo Ballard. I was born and raised in Lancaster County, learning the value of hard work and grit at a young age. I built my own company, creating jobs right here in our community. I know that families and businesses in our community need lower taxes, lower cost of healthcare, and a great education. That's why, as your senator, I helped pass the largest tax cut and made the most significant investment in education in Nebraska history and worked to reduce the cost of healthcare. I'm Senator Bo Ballard, and I humbly ask for your vote on May 14th. Paid for by Ballard for Nebraska.
High schoolers, unleash your creativity and learn about potential careers in broadcasting at the Digital Expressions Media Camp. Have fun, make friends, and get hands-on experience with video and radio production June 9th through the 14th at the University of Nebraska at Kearney. Scholarships are available from the Nebraska Broadcasters Association, and spots are limited. Learn more at digitalexpressionscamp.com. That's digitalexpressionscamp.com.
Jake Sorensen here for The Body Shop. My wife is nearing her due date with our first child and has been in need of a good massage as her body continues to change and adapt. Dennis and the team at The Body Shop were incredible with the prenatal massage that she's still talking about today. I was also able to get a deep tissue massage, so it was a great bonding experience and a unique couples massage in general. If you're in need of stress relief, book a massage today at thebodyshoplincoln.com. The Body Shop at 48th and A.
Hi, it's Joel Norman, the voice of your Lincoln Stars hockey team. Tune in to 93.7 The Ticket every Tuesday night from 8 to 9 p.m. to hear the latest on the Stars with myself, head coach Rocky Russo, and special player guests.
Problem gambling is not just a financial issue. It's an emotional problem with financial consequences. If your loved one is struggling with addiction, contact Choices Treatment Center's 24-hour helpline at 402-476-2300. That's 402-476-2300.
Old School with DP and J.
Nebraska and their staff, football-wise, have done a really good job of, keeping guys, happy. And then obviously they see the opportunity here. Whereas I don't think there's a general reason that you can say, okay, this is why kids are going in the portal. Now we're seeing, even when they're in really good situations for them, they still leave.
On 93.7 The Ticket and theticketfm.com. On the Block with Strick and Austin.
When you're in New York, Nick, in New York, I mean, you're talking about, you see mafioso types. You go into a restaurant and you would literally eat. Hey, come on over here. They I don't know how to say it. I don't got the accent, but they would say, come, Strick, come here, come over. Have a drink on me. And what are you going to do? Say no?
You not say
You
no
don't
to that?
say no to the drink. You don't say no.
Weekdays from 2 to 4 on 93.7 The Ticket and theticketfm.com.
Take your internet service to new levels with Allo, your award-winning internet provider across our fiber hoods. Allo isn't just about the fastest internet available. It's about connecting you to your world, work, and play seamlessly. Our award-winning service ensures affordable, secure, and reliable connectivity, setting us apart. Ready to transform your internet experience? Experience the fiber difference today. Sign up now at allofiber.com. Allo, connecting your world.
This is Sunday Rewind on 93.7 The Ticket and theticketfm.com.
Welcome back. Mike Melby, Tom Stevens, Husker Rewind. Big thanks to Tom Chattel, columnist for the Omaha World Herald, for joining us. Hour number 2, we've got Lance Harvell, offensive coordinator for Nebraska baseball, coming off a big win today, 16-4 over Maryland, and taking the series 2-1. They're in second place in the Big Ten, sitting in a pretty good spot there. And then Evan Bland next hour as well. We'll talk a little Husker football and baseball with Evan Bland of the World Herald. Let's put a bow on this conversation about basketball, because I like you, I like where Fred Hoiberg is, and I think Tom said it as well, that he thinks Fred's in a good situation, knows what he wants now. We remember back to Matt Abdelmassih, and it felt like they were just picking guys and putting them on the floor with really no rhyme or reason. Some guys were good basketball players, but they didn't necessarily fit what Nebraska basketball was trying to be. And maybe they just didn't know what they were trying to be. Then a few years in to the Big Ten, they realized, hey, we have to play defense. And that took to year number 4, really, to figure that out. And then they got the really good culture guys. And I go back to a couple of years ago with the culture guys. I think we saw that begin to turn. And then Casey turns into this, I think he blossoms into a player that they even didn't know what he would be. They thought he maybe could be that, but did they know? Casey becomes that. You add Juwan Gary for the last couple of years. Bryce Williams has been a pleasant surprise. And, of course, Rink Mask, really good fit. And you've got something. And now you've got 3 of those guys coming back. You got Juwan Gary coming back. Bryce Williams says he's coming back. And Rink Mask potentially. I think he's coming back.
Yeah, I would agree. And one of the pieces that's not a part of the puzzle yet. It's not in the box. Is a guy, I just looked up his stats because I was kind of curious. You talk about Andrew Morgan, how efficient he is at scoring. And another name, and he's already committed to Nebraska, but another name that is being floated around as possibly the next commit for Fred Hoiberg and the basketball team is William Kyle III, played at Bellevue West. And Kyle had 55 blocks on the season for South Dakota State. He shot 62% from the field, 195 out of 313 attempts, only one three-point attempt. He's not a guy that's going to, draw somebody out. But the defensive presence, the rim protector, Nebraska has not had one of those in a while. The one bugaboo, though, is he only shoots 58% from the line. Yeah. But, he's a guy, and he's going to get fouled going and playing the way in Fred's offense he's going to need to play. But that's a guy that I know I've heard a lot of rumblings about, and you've seen quite a few different puffs of smoke coming in. So I think that might be one that you could see here soon. I had not heard Louisville for Chucky Hepburn. Tom Chattel said that.
I did see that in the article that Louisville was the one to step up and pay him. They've been a disaster. Yeah. Louisville has been a disaster on the court. They just fired their coach. But they're a traditional power. They certainly have a better basketball history than Nebraska and have won national titles. Another name that I'm hearing for Nebraska, Igor Milicic, 6'10 center from Charlotte, good friend of Bryce Williams, I believe, or at least they played together. So maybe that helps Nebraska get an in on Milicic. But apparently Tennessee and Baylor are also in on Milicic. He is a guy that can spread the floor, 6'10", 14-7 guy, very good rebounder. So they've got some options. I think right now Nebraska can be really picky. If they know, even though he hasn't told us, say you're Fred Hoiberg and Rink has already told you he's coming back. You got to feel pretty good about where you are. That knowing that Gary, Williams, Mask are back, and Mask not officially back, but say he's told Fred that he is back. And then you add Andrew Morgan, who I really like, North Dakota State, very solid interior player. You get Gavin Griffiths from Rutgers, who I think, goggles, a top 50 player coming out of high school, chose Rutgers over UConn. And we both said it. He was just in a bad offense.
That's not an offense. I don't know why he would have gone. Whatever.
That's a terrible. But they continue to recruit. I think they just signed 2 5-stars to Rutgers. But who knows if they can? They'll turn them into defensive players, and they'll probably lose their jump shot. But we'll see what happens. But I all I'm saying is you got Raleigh Worcester. I don't know what kind of player he's going to be. 6'4", averaged 9 points a game and almost 5 assists at Utah this past year. He's he looks okay.
He's a Power 5 conference point guard.
Yeah.
I mean,
there you go.
You can't argue with that.
And he played for Craig Smith, former Husker coach. So I think you've got some pieces to work with. I think you can be really picky if you're Fred from here on out. So there you go. That winding up our basketball conversation. Let's switch to baseball. Lance Harvell. We always love talking to Lance, the offensive coordinator, recruiting coordinator for the University of Nebraska. They are now 25-12 and 8-4 in the Big Ten after their 2 out of 3. Mercy ruled today's opponent. That is Maryland, 16-4. Only went 7 innings because of the mercy rule today. Talk a little Husker baseball with Lance Harvell coming up next.
The Omaha Supernovas are back in action this Tuesday, April 23rd versus the San Diego Mojo at Viejas Arena in San Diego. The Mullen Motors pregame show with Derek Pearson and Renee Saunders starts at 8 p.m. with first serve at 9. Make sure to tune in to the next Ag Appraisal and Realty postgame show right after the match ends. Catch all the action on your flagship station, 93.7 The Ticket, and statewide on the Supernovas Radio Network.
Hey, Husker Nation, Matt Davison here with 1890. It's an exciting time to be a Husker fan, and to keep that momentum going, we need your help. Nebraska has always been a leader in college athletics, and we're doing the same through name, image, and likeness. NIL is a unique opportunity for every Husker fan to have a direct impact on the success of our programs. Through 1890, 100% of your contribution goes to the student athletes. So go to 1890nebraska.com, choose your sport, become a member, and help the Huskers recruit and retain the best. Go Big Red.
Bagels and Joe is the perfect place for breakfast or lunch in April. Try their brand new cake batter cream cheese on any breakfast sandwich. And try the caramel latte, as 10% of proceeds from that drink will go to the Foundation for Lincoln Public Schools. 4 locations in Lincoln and 1 in Seward. Bagels and Joe.
Unearth the secret to long-lasting tires at Tread's Central Tire Pros, a league apart in commitment, service, and expertise. This isn't just about rubber meeting the road, but trust, safety, and surety converging in perfect harmony. This is where expectations are exceeded every time. Make your appointment today at Tread Central Tire Pros, just south of Cortland on Highway 77, or visit our website to explore our services. Remember, when it comes to tires, choose Tread Central Tire Pros because we tread differently.
Old School with DP and J.
Nebraska and their staff, football-wise, have done a really good job of, keeping guys, happy. And then obviously they see the opportunity here. Whereas I don't think there's a general reason that you can say, okay, this is why kids are going in the portal. Now we're seeing, even when they're in really good situations for them, they still leave.
On 93.7 The Ticket and theticketfm.com.
At Union Bank, people don't have your money. Your money has people. First home people, investment people, people who answer the phone and your chats, dream car people, dream retirement people, driving your dream car in your dream retirement people, small business people, credit card people, and all the other people you need. At Union Bank, our people help you do more than you dreamed possible. So stop in and say hello. We can't wait to see you. Union Bank and Trust. Member FDIC.
Several irrigation contractors in Lincoln go out of business every year, leaving sprinkler system orphans begging for service. The folks at Judson Irrigation shed a tear for these little fellas. They've been coddling these orphans for more than 40 years. From redesign, repairing, replacing, and restoring, remember the Judson Irrigation Orphanage.
Call the Judson Irrigation Orphanage 402-420-6277 or judsonirrigation.com.
What do you think of when you hear the chocolate season? Artisan chocolates? Of course, they have the best chocolates this side of the Atlantic. Friendly neighborhood coffee shop? Yup, they're that too. A nationally recognized top-tier brunch spot. Waffle weekends, baby. And the place to grab a gift for literally any occasion? Everybody loves chocolate. See for yourself at the Chocolate Season, 40th and Old Cheney, or order ahead online at thechocolateseason.com.
Early break with Sip and Jake.
Nobody goes to McDonald's more than you. Nobody.
No,
every meal,
I
every call. I mean, every meal.
Every morning you're there.
Every morning goes to McDonald's
every single
every day.
I do it. Oh, I go every day.
Is it? Yeah,
how many
that's
times?
what I mean. That's a lot.
How many? Sometimes
I'm saying in the next year I go 9 times. I
That's
go
high
9.
for me. I'm not going 9
Oh,
times
I mean
to
7
McDonald's.
times
Yeah.
a week. 7 times a week.
That's what I mean.
Yes,
But there's a lot of
every
times
day.
though you go more than once a day.
Oh, for sure.
Yeah, so I'm telling you. So it's
But I just
500.
get coffee.
But you go 500 times a year. That's a lot. 500 times a year. The most I'm at is 9. I'm at 9. Jake's at 4, and you're at 500.
I say 4 to 5 for myself.
So I said 9. You said 500.
Put it that way.
It is. Just do the math.
Early break with Sip and Jake from 6 to 8 every weekday morning on 93.7 The Ticket. This is Lincoln's home for sports talk on the FM dial. Also online at theticketfm.com. On the internet, KNTK FM Firth, 93.7 The Ticket. This is Sunday Rewind.
Take it back now, y'all.
Thing down, flip it and reverse it. If I could turn back time.
On 93.7 The Ticket and theticketfm.com. Now, here are your hosts, Tom Stevens and Mike Melby.
Welcome back. Hour number 2. Mike Melby, Tom Stevens, Husker Rewind every Sunday, 5 to 7. Nice weekend for Husker baseball. They get a nice performance from Brett Sears, as they always do, on Friday night. And then on Saturday, a tough outing. They drop an 11-2 decision to Maryland and then come back and mercy rule Maryland today in 7 innings, 16-4. When was the last time you mercy ruled a team, especially in conference? Do you remember, Coach? Lance Harbaugh.
I don't. I'm sure it's probably more recent than I probably should recall, but I can't remember the last time. so I'm not sure. But I'll take today's result.
Yeah,
for sure.
5 steals. You've been very aggressive on the base paths. But the thing that you haven't had as of late, 10 hits with runners in scoring position today. Had a tough time really in the month of April. What turned it around today? So many hits with runners in scoring position. What was the approach?
Nothing has really changed. Believe it or not, that's not a very sexy answer, I know, but we haven't really done anything different. It's just sometimes, the hits come with runners in scoring position and you're driving in everybody. And sometimes you go through those phases where, you can't get anybody in. And it's just one of those things in baseball and especially offensively, just with how hard it is to hit, especially with runners in scoring position. But, about the only thing different that we did today, we kind of switched up, made a little adjustment in our preparation with our BP and our early work, and that was pretty much it, though. I mean, and so it's not anything we haven't done in the past, at times, but it just was, just maybe a little bit more kind of, I don't want to say focused, but we challenged the guys today before the game to just remember who they are, and that we have a really, really good team. And yes, the last 2.5 weeks or so, it's been tough. Early on we were winning every game and everything was going our way. And then the last 2.5 weeks, it's been a little tougher, and the game is testing us. And the challenge has just been, and the message has just been, how are we going to respond? Like, you can't ask the game to give you more. You can't sit there and play the victim card. And so we just challenged them today to remember who they were, kind of how we've trained, everything they've done going back to the fall, how hard they've worked, and what kind of how we've sort of crafted this team and the culture of this team, specifically this year, of what we're about, what we stand for and what we're about. And at the end of the day, it's toughness and competitiveness. And that's what's, in our DNA, like the makeup of this team. That's what it is. That's what it's founded on. And so we just kind of reminded them of that today and challenged them to go prove it. And sometimes, confidence is kind of it's a funny thing, right? It can be fleeting. And when you have it, you're completely, you're 10 feet tall and bulletproof. And when you don't, you feel like you can't do anything right. And so that was just kind of the message today, was getting these guys back to being confident, having some confidence, and reminding them who they are. And they went out and to their credit, I mean, they went out and showed it and proved every bit of it today.
Nebraska assistant baseball coach and recruiting coordinator Lance Harvell joining us on the Allo VIP line here on Husker Rewind on 93.7 The Ticket. Coach, midweek games were a bugaboo for you guys last year. Things were going great this last Tuesday. Can't quite hold on. You've got a big game against Kansas this Tuesday, and talk about that, and then how important these next 4 are at home to wrap up the 8-game homestand.
Yeah, they're huge. I mean, as far as if we want to accomplish our goal of hosting a regional, we have to have them. I mean, it's about as cut and dry, black and white as it can be. They're must-win games, and we, need to come out and play a high level of baseball. And with the midweek games and even some of the weekend games, that maybe haven't gone our way lately, it's kind of funny. And again, just kind of with us talking internally about how it's just baseball's tough, man, and tough people are the ones that are good at it. And the game is testing us right now. Are we gonna flinch, or are we just gonna kind of keep coming? We've actually played, when you look at statistically the breakdown and the numbers and everything, we've played at a pretty high level. Obviously, Saturday, was an outlier. Whatever. We can forget about Saturday, but we've played it at a really high level. We just haven't finished some games. We haven't, offensively or on the mound, haven't finished some games. And every good team, every championship team that I've ever been a part of, you go through these periods, in your season, and the timing of it, is kind of different every time. And, one thing we were talking about earlier this week, that it's like, we have to be real with ourselves and recognize, that it's tough right now. Nothing's coming easy right now. And we've just got to go be tougher than our circumstances, and we can't play the victim card. But I was thankful that this time is coming, now, as opposed to, I've been on a team that, in the past, where it happened at the very end of the season, and you go into the postseason, just kind of limping into the postseason. And that is the worst feeling you could have, when your team is not confident at the end of the year. And so for us to be going through this right now, it's nothing new. It's nothing different. Nothing we haven't been through. And so just continuing to play at a high level and having that faith, and that belief that it's going to turn around. And that's just kind of been the common message, to the guys is tough times don't last, tough people do. And so just keep showing up. And these guys, man, this team, they are about the right stuff. They work hard. They love each other. They are competitive. They want to win. And when you have that and can just keep those guys motivated and keep them moving in the right direction and keep them together, it's going to turn at some point. And, hopefully today was a big, kind of a big step in that direction, because I can't think of a tougher situation than to have a day at home in front of our home fans, like we did on Saturday, and to play the way we did, and then to turn around and do that to the other team less than 24 hours later, put that, file that under the definition of toughness, and just the litany of things that this team has done like that this year. And that's pretty rewarding.
Yeah. Nebraska assistant baseball coach Lance Harvell is our guest. I imagine there are a few fans that celebrated with a beer today. Haymarket Park now has beer. I don't think you're allowed to have that, Coach, in the dugout. But what a win. What a series for the Huskers. 25-12, 8-4 now in the Big Ten. We talked a lot about this as it pertains to basketball or football, that sometimes you don't see an identity. There seems to be an identity with this baseball team. Not every year do you find it, but this is a tough, gritty team. You keep going back to it. I think you've got that with this team.
Yeah, and that was kind of on display today as well, as it has been, throughout the season. But I love, when we're meeting with the team after a game and not only just seeing the faces, but seeing, uniforms that are just covered in dirt, is kind of one of those. I'm like, that tells me everything I need to know about how this game went today, and I love that stuff. And these guys, it happened like in the course of the game today, where, we had like kind of a pass ball. I'm trying to remember exactly what the situation was. But Cole Evans took an extra base on a loose ball and, came sliding into third base, and it was just a heads up play by him on the bases. And I told him, right there on the bag, I was like, that's exactly what we're about right there, man. That's great. And then you got the play on the bunt, Josh Overbeek giving himself up for the team on a bunt play, and then kind of a wild throw, and then he trucks the second baseman covering the bag, and then goes while that guy's laying on his back. He's hurt and banged up, but he still turns and gets to second base on that. He can't even breathe. He got the wind knocked out of him. That kind of stuff is what it's the spirit of this team, and that, like I said, they're about the right things. It's those kind of things, that we're about. I mean, Will Walsh, you want to talk about toughness and something that kind of gets lost in the shuffle here? Will Walsh, I mean, we had some long innings offensively. We're scoring, 2, 3, 4, 5 runs, and we're out there for 30 minutes, 45 minutes, hitting. And that guy just kept coming out. Sometimes those long innings can be tough for a pitcher. And all he did was answer the bell every time out and went out there and just filled up the strike zone time after time. And it's like, that dude hadn't been on the mound in 45 minutes, you know, and he just flipping breaking balls and changeups in there for strikes, just kept them off balance all day. And that's kind of one of those things too, like just from the mental side, you know, him being locked in like that on the mound, you know, was huge for us today, you know, in the game, because obviously how they were swinging the bat, you know, with how their offense is built. It could have very easily been a back and forth game today where it was, you know, maybe like a 16-14 type game. And it wasn't. He was dominant on the mound, played good defense behind him. And those kind of things, that's what this team has shown all year.
Expand a little bit about those long innings. Mentally, I can imagine, and you kind of addressed it, but physically, what do the pitchers do when innings get to be that long? Will they go into the tunnel, do some stretching, maybe play catch, or are they in the dugout and just use the pre-inning warm-up pitches to get back into the groove?
Yeah, I think I saw maybe once. I don't know. He might have gone like twice. Just kind of made his way down to our bullpen and probably played a little catch, moved around a little bit. But that's pretty much it. You know, and it's pitchers. You know, they're all kind of a weird breed. It's all a case by case basis what guys need and what they don't as far as staying loose. A lot of guys, we've got this little thing they strap on their arm and it keeps their arm warm while they're in the dugout. But yeah, it just kind of depends on the guy. I mean, Will, he's a horse, man, and so he didn't need much to stay locked in, you know. And I think I think him being a two-way player, I think kind of staying engaged and staying mentally locked into the game probably is a little bit easier for him, you know, just because he can sit there and watch us on offense and be fully engaged because he knows the signs, he knows what's going on, he knows what's about that, you know, all that kind of stuff. And he's still competing mentally even when he's in the dugout.
Well, Brett Sears had a great Friday night. Obviously, he's your Friday night dude, and he's one of the best pitchers in the entirety of college baseball. McConaughey struggled a little bit this weekend. Walsh was really good. Is that that kind of what you're looking for? I mean, has Walsh solidified himself, you think, as your Sunday guy, or you still looking?
Yeah, no, I think what he did today, you know, I think I would imagine probably earned him another start. And yeah, I mean, Brett Sears, a guy could pitch on Fridays for anybody in the country. And, you know, McConaughey's been on that. This is kind of an outlier for him. You know, I don't think he didn't quite have his fastball on Saturday. They were on it from the get go. And, but you know, he'll be back out there. He'll bounce back and be fine. I mean, he's been trending up the entire year. So you kind of look at it and be like, well, you kind of throw that one out because hasn't been great. But yeah, Will was great and Brett was great on Friday. And so, yeah, you know, hopefully you kind of see those guys kind of settling into some roles there.
Well, you got Kansas this Tuesday, Haymarket Park, and then it's Iowa. We don't like Iowa, Coach. So you got to sweep Iowa. I
do not.
You don't like them either?
I got nothing for those guys. It's funny how I never thought twice about Iowa until I came up here, and I cannot stand them now. So there's nothing good about them in my eyes. But yeah, it should be a great week of baseball, and we need to pack Haymarket Park and you know, come early, grab you a dog and a cold beverage, and you know, enjoy some Husker baseball this week.
Well, then we're going to have you back after they sweep Iowa on Sunday. We're having you back on the show Sunday night next week. And I'm glad to hear that you hate Iowa just as much as we hate Iowa. That's fantastic. Lance Harvell, you're the best. We appreciate it, buddy.
All right, guys.
There you go.
Thanks for having me. Tom. See you guys.
That's great. I knew nothing about Iowa. I got here and now I hate Iowa. Awesome. I love that guy. Nebraska baseball assistant Lance Harvell. We have another interview.
We do.
We're going to talk a little more Husker baseball, but probably focus the majority of it on Husker football, but we can mix anything we want to in with Evan Bland.
Absolutely.
It's our show, for crying out loud. Mike Melby, Tom Stevens, Husker Rewind. Evan Bland of the Omaha World Herald is next.
The Mill Coffee and Tea, formerly with only 4 Lincoln locations. Guess what?
What?
There's 5 Lincoln locations now. Oh my gosh. That's 25% more Lincoln locations than there used to be. Can you even imagine a world where there's only 4 Lincoln Mill locations? Feels like ages ago. We were all so young then. The Mill on 11th, located right alongside 93.7 The Ticket Studios, 1040 O Street.
93.7 The Ticket is proud to provide listeners with daily opportunities to win contests and prizes on our airwaves, and would like to take this opportunity to remind you of a couple rules. All participants must be 21 or older and must wait 30 days after winning a prize before participating in another contest. Once you win, you have 30 days to pick up your prize at the K&TK Studios, 1040 O Street in Lincoln, or your prize will be forfeit. Thank you for participating in our contest, and thank you for listening to 93.7 The Ticket.
When you were a kid, clubs were cool. Robotics club and space club and stuff like that. But what do adults get? Book clubs and quilting clubs? Nah, forget that. How about margarita clubs and old-fashioned clubs? Get to Upside Bar and Lounge for the best clubs in town. Try all 10 varieties of Upside margaritas or old fashions and take home a free souvenir glass. Grab the whole crew and pair it with taco night on Mondays or whiskey Wednesdays. Upside Bar and Lounge at 29th and Pine Lake.
Southeast Community College invites you to check out our spaces ahead of your official campus visit. Our virtual campus tours let you see our campuses and learn more about our programs of study. Then you can schedule your individual visit in person or virtually. Virtual tours of our campuses in Beatrice, Lincoln, or Milford, and our learning centers are online at southeast.edu/visit SCC. SCC, your path to possible.
If you're a homeowner or a business owner, you have a lot of projects, and no one has an unlimited budget or time. Sunbelt Rentals makes all jobs less stressful with no need to purchase large equipment or hire a crew. You can do it yourself with rentals in everything from aerators and power rakes for spring yard work to stump grinders, concrete mixers, tile saws, and more. Check out their inventory in Lincoln, north of Cornhusker Highway on 56th Street, or online at sunbeltrentals.com.
You can get diesel anywhere, but what about atomic diesel? That comes from Stern. Atomic Diesel is your solution to all your cold weather problems. Prevent clogged fuel filters, increase your fuel economy, and save money with Atomic Diesel. Contact Roger at Stern today by calling 1-800-477-2744 to see how Atomic Diesel and the rest of their line of fuels and lubricants can keep your operation running at max capacity.
Banking should feel personal, not intimidating. At Western National Bank, we're about real connections. Founded by 2 ordinary guys with an extraordinary vision, to know each and every customer personally. Fees, they suck. Avoid all fees with Western National Bank's Compass checking account. No monthly fees, no minimum balances, and get this, 5.12 APY on the first $1,000. Open your Compass checking account online in 5 minutes or less at mywmb.com. Experience the difference with Western National Bank. Visit mywmb.com. Member FDIC.
Unearth the secret to long-lasting tires at Tread's Central Tire Pros, a league apart in commitment, service, and expertise. This isn't just about rubber meeting the road, but trust, safety, and surety converging in perfect harmony. This is where expectations are exceeded every time. Make your appointment today at Tread's Central Tire Pros, just south of Cortland on Highway 77, or visit our website to explore our services. Remember, when it comes to tires, choose Tread's Central Tire Pros because we tread differently.
Bagels & Joe is the perfect place for breakfast or lunch in April. Try their brand new cake batter cream cheese on any breakfast sandwich. And try the caramel latte, as 10% of proceeds from that drink will go to the Foundation for Lincoln Public Schools. 4 locations in Lincoln and 1 in Seward. Bagels & Joe.
This is Sunday Rewind on 93.7 The Ticket and theticketfm.com.
Welcome back to Husker Rewind on 93.7 The Ticket and theticketfm.com. That is Tom Stevens. Hello. My name is Mike Melby, and on the Allo VIP line from the Omaha World Herald, we have Mr. Evan Bland. Evan, how was your Sunday?
Hey, guys. Doing well. I'm feeling the pressure to get my first mow in, but other than that, can't complain.
Same here. Now, I'm assuming you were at the ballpark. We just got off the phone with Husker hitting coach Lance Harvell, talked a little bit about the game and this past 2.5 weeks and the little bit of a slump they were in. And one thing he said is, baseball's hard. There's times when the game tests you. and they've got a team that they feel has the toughness needed to get through this stretch and get back on a roll. What have you seen change in this team here in the last, say, 3 weeks from the end of that 10-game winning streak to now kind of righting the ship and bouncing back big time today?
Yeah, it's been kind of an up and down April. I mean, it's kind of very neatly coincided with the end of that streak was the start of the calendar month. And, they've had games where things have looked really good. Today was days. They've had days where it's just kind of hard to put it all together. Maybe the bullpen would blow a late lead, or maybe the offense wouldn't provide a big enough cushion, or maybe the defense wouldn't come through in a key spot, whatever it was. And, so Nebraska's kind of been treading water a little bit in that regard, and it cost them their top 25 ranking. But, I kind of look at the team here at the end of April, and you still see a top 20 RPI next to their name. You still see the fact that they're contending in the Big Ten. I think they're top 3 at the moment, depending on how some other results went today. So, everything's in front of them. And, yeah, I mean, the month of April dinged their chances to host a regional. Not that that's totally out of the question, but, that's just one of the goals for this team. And so, the fact that they're a solid at-large team at this point, if nothing else, is a big step forward from where they've been. And I think just what we saw today was a reminder, too, that when this team is locked in, their ceiling is as high as anybody, certainly in the Big Ten and among the higher ceilings in the country, I would say.
If you were to pick a player, maybe it's a Spencer Swellenbach or something that maybe you think that this team is missing, a closer, a big hitter, Bryce Matthews, anybody, what would kind of you pick for this team? What are they missing in your mind, or are they just fine?
Yeah, I mean, you can always use more pitching depth for sure. And I think before this weekend, I would have said, man, you'd love it if they could figure out the Sunday starting spot. I mean, they go into a TBD, and it ends up being Will Walsh, the guy who was in the rotation in that spot to start the year, and he looked really good in it. So, maybe today was, sort of a turning point for them figuring out the rotation and having that third guy. I still think the midweek bugaboos are there at times, and you'd love to have a guy that could give you 5 innings, 6 innings in a spot like that. I don't know that Nebraska necessarily has that guy. Maybe that'll be Drew Christo on Tuesday night against Kansas. We'll see. So yeah, I would say, yeah, I mean, another quality starter. You could think back, hey, if Emmett Olson had decided to stick around another year, think how that rotation for Nebraska would look. And yeah, I think obviously Spencer Schwellenbach, as dominant of a closer as Nebraska's had in recent memory, would be another lockdown piece at the end of the game. So I think you could always use more depth of arms for sure. I think they kind of like where their offense is, kind of the depth of it. They don't have that big bopper the way they did with Max Anderson or Bryce Matthews, but I think they would tell you they would take what this offense is and what it can be, and again, just add another arm or two, and I think that would make them look all the stronger.
With what they do have, the midweek games again this year seem to be, last year was a lot more miss than hit and miss, but kind of hit and miss. Any indication why that you've been able to see? They've got Kansas Tuesday night at Haymarket.
Yeah, I think it's because they don't have a guy that can give them length in that spot. And so, I think that's why Tuesday will be interesting to have Christo in that role. He's been a weekend guy all year, and there have been a lot of games that he started where it's taken him maybe an inning or two to settle in, and the game's already kind of out of hand at that point. So maybe, him in more of a midweek, a little bit of a lower leverage type situation could make a difference. And he is capable of giving you 5 or 6. So you just can't survive consistently on sort of these Johnny Holstaff efforts where your starter who you're hoping to get 3 or 4 out of goes 1 or 2, and then you're really behind the 8 ball in terms of your bullpen and going from there. So I think the offense has done its job. I mean, that slugfest at Kansas, you want to you score 11 runs on the road, you feel like you're in a pretty good position. And then obviously Creighton a week ago, they were well on their way to winning that game until that grand slam late. So I think the offense has tended to do its job. They've had enough bats where they can play lefty righty matchups and different things. But I think it's just been, again, you start from playing from behind, and you're into your bullpen so early that it kind of puts you into scramble mode. So I think that's the most interesting thing for me with this Tuesday game against Kansas is how far Christo can go. Because I think, again, if you can get 5 innings out of him, they have enough bullpen arms behind that to kind of play the relay game to the finish line. But it really puts you back when you're trailing after 2 or 3 of the way that they have been.
Evan Bland of the Omaha World Herald covers Nebraska football and baseball for the World Herald. You were there, I'm sure, on Saturday for the scrimmage. Mike Rule called it the most dominant ever under him, by far the best practice he's seen from the offense. What did you see that was encouraging?
Well, I wish I could have seen the scrimmage.
Oh, you didn't see it. Okay.
They don't let media in there, unfortunately. So we can.
Oh, that's right.
We can hear about it, and he certainly was very, I think happy with how things went. He said it was the most dominant day offensively that they've had since he's been here. And Nebraska, I think their social media put out a little highlight video of the scrimmages, and you see, Raiola and I think Kalen in particularly hitting a lot of their short throws, putting the ball in space for playmakers to do something with. Jalen Lloyd, I think, did well. Ja'Cory Barney had his moments, at least in the little video that they put out again. So, I think it probably would be helpful to have some context there, because there were some of Nebraska's more established older defenders that didn't play. Ty Robinson, Nash Hutmaker, Tommy Hill were among those who didn't play. So I think you do have to factor that in a little bit, but it is encouraging to see the quarterbacks, not even just making plays, but like making the short throws and letting other guys make plays, and let the offense kind of be efficient in that way. And it sounds like they were pretty explosive at times too, with a few long plays. So I think, you think to the struggles that the offense had this last year with the giveaways. Sounds like that wasn't really an issue in this particular scrimmage that they had. So if the quarterback can take care of the ball, and Nebraska's upgraded as it appears to have at the receiver position with speed and height, I think it can be a really encouraging thing. Now, of course, in these situations, you always worry about the other side. Then what does that mean for the defense or whatnot? But I do think they put some younger guys in there, so it seems like probably a pretty encouraging development for what Nebraska had. And obviously, in a week, a whole lot more eyes will be able to kind of be on the proceedings and make our own evaluations too.
All 3 quarterbacks, according to Matt Rule, played pretty well. They are now allowed to talk to the quarterbacks via the headset, and they'll be turned off 15 seconds before the play starts. And Rule says maybe that will lead to faster offense in college football. He says it's been transformational for his staff or for his quarterbacks. How much do you expect that to help Nebraska? Because everybody's going to have it. So you wouldn't think that Nebraska would have an advantage, but maybe they will.
Well, I'm happy that we can put the whole sign stealing stuff to bed. Like, I think that's exciting to me. I think it's a positive. Like, I think what we saw, what we've just seen in baseball, like baseball has incorporated technology in the last couple of years to where now you don't have to sign in a pitches. Like it's on your wristbands, you have the earpiece and the catcher. And so it moves along more efficiently. I think it's sort of a similar deal for football. So when you're on defense, you have one defender that's also able to hear the calls and can relay that then to the rest of the defense. I think it's just a sign of keeping up with the times. And I mean, you see it in the NFL, you see technology being used at the high school level. So this was sorely overdue, in my opinion, for college football. And I think it makes for an interesting sort of cat and mouse game too, because like you mentioned, the radio cuts at 15 seconds left on the play clock. And so I don't know, if I'm a defensive coordinator in that situation, man, I'm coming out in one look and then changing that thing 15 seconds left to where, now that the coaches can't necessarily be, having as direct an impact in what the play is. It's going to rely a lot more on the quarterback and the offense to identify what's going on. So I think it opens up a different sort of challenge, and whoever can be more efficient, whoever can be more strategic with some of these rule changes will probably have an early advantage. And I think Nebraska is aware of those potential changes. And now it's up to, the Huskers to see if they can, improve based on some of these things.
So the question I have for you, Evan, is do we know 100% for sure who is going to be the coach speaking to the starting quarterback for Nebraska?
Well, I mean, we know that Marcus Satterfield's the offensive coordinator, and he's the one calling plays. So I don't.
I guess that's the question: is it 100% that Sat's going to call plays?
Yeah. Oh, yeah. Yeah.
Okay.
I mean, Matt Rule's been really clear on that. He took questions about that in the winter about what does it mean when you have Glenn Thomas who comes on and his title is not just quarterbacks coach but also co-offensive coordinator. And he said, yeah, I mean, it's Marcus Satterfield will be calling the plays. Glenn Thomas will have a role certainly in having an input and in preparation. Matt Rule will as well. But yeah, I mean, ultimately it's going to come down to Marcus Satterfield calling those plays. I think there'll probably be more of a dialogue, of course, as your game is going on. But yeah, it'll be Satterfield making the decisions.
Yeah. Evan Bland of the Omaha World Herald. One of the more interesting things I thought that was said by Rule this week, he said he doesn't expect many Nebraska players to jump into the portal, but he did say that other coaches have been calling his players because his players have showed him the texts of coaches messing with Nebraska players, asking him, are you going into the portal, that type of thing. We've known that this goes on in college football. I guess, I mean, how surprised are you by that, if at all?
Yeah, I mean, you knew the tampering was going on. I think in the last year or so, it's become a little bit more brazen, maybe. Like it used to be, and maybe it still is to a point, but it used to be kind of where you'd reach out through like a third party. So if you're an outside school, maybe you contact the high school coach of a guy that you're interested in, or a teammate or a family member or something, and say, hey, let's gauge his interest. And now it sounds like you're seeing more examples of coaches directly texting or reaching out to prospects and saying, hey, how are you doing? You interested in coming in, or what are they paying you? Things like that. So I think part of that's just a byproduct of the fact that so much of the NIL space and the transfer portal space remains unregulated, right? Like, I mean, the rules have just become official now that there's no limit to how many times a student athlete can transfer from school to school. So I don't know how you would enforce anti-tampering other than maybe starting to name names, right? Like nobody has done that, but at some point, if you're the coach and you're seeing your player getting hit up by all these schools, maybe there's a temptation to name those schools or to name those coaches. But of course, then that kind of puts a target on your own back to make sure your own house is in order. So people aren't sort of countering back that way. So I think it's just another reminder that there needs to be more regulations, that where college athletics is right now is certainly not where it's going to be in 5 years, whether that's players entering into revenue sharing or being employees or whatever it might end up being. We're very much in a transitionary period for college athletics, and I think that's one way that it's showing up.
The portal opened on Monday, and there aren't a lot of needs, I wouldn't think. But if you get a great player, maybe you go get a great player. Do you see Nebraska? You cover recruiting. You see Nebraska looking at anybody in the portal to bring in?
I haven't heard that to this point. I mean, you never know. Like, you don't even necessarily know the entire player pool at this point. Like, there are still a lot of schools that are finishing up their spring games. Of course, Nebraska is still a week away. So a lot of times players don't make their decisions until maybe they have a better sense of where they fall at the end of the spring. So I think some of that conversation will be ongoing until the portal closes on April 30th. But, in theory, I mean, maybe they could still be in the market for a quarterback, although I feel like based on what I've seen and heard that they're increasingly confident in the 3 scholarship quarterbacks that they have. Maybe there's an offensive lineman that can give you a little bit of depth, maybe another skill player. It's hard to say. A lot of that is based on who goes in, what maybe pre-existing relationships there are between Nebraska coaches and some of these players that are available. And then there's just kind of the number situation too. I mean, I think gone are the days where you're sort of counting scholarships to make sure Nebraska gets to a point, because you can just put these players on NIL packages. So, it's one of those deals where I think if the player were to come available, Nebraska would make room, but I don't think that they're actively searching to add people just to add people for depth at this point.
The draft is this Thursday. What are your Broncos drafting? Do you know?
I think 12.
Yeah. What do you need?
Yeah. A quarterback.
Yeah.
I mean, they're paying Russell Wilson to not be there.
That's
right. I don't know who's going to be there at 12. I don't love that positioning necessarily. People have said J.J. McCarthy, which I don't know. I'm not. It doesn't knock my socks off, but I think they need a quarterback.
Yeah.
They need a lot of things, so we'll see how that goes.
Well, your Broncos need a quarterback. My Vikings need a quarterback. You're drafting 12th. We're drafting 11th. So there might be a fight. I'll text you draft night and see who got what.
If you want McCarthy, that's fine. We can agree on that.
I don't think he's terrible. I think it was that offense that made him sometimes look mediocre. I think he could be okay. I don't know. But you're right. Russell was a disaster the last couple of years. I don't know what happened there. You could definitely need a quarterback for sure.
Not great.
Any Nebraska players going? I don't. Nobody's probably getting drafted, right? Quentin Newsom, maybe.
Maybe. I would not anticipate anyone getting drafted. Honestly, Marco Ortiz, the long snapper, was graded out as the second long snapper in this draft class. So I don't think he'll get drafted, but he'll sign somewhere. Quentin Newsom, Omar Brown, I know has had positive reviews with what he's done too. But I think maybe if Nebraska continues on the trend that it hopes to be on, a year from now, there'll be a lot more action when it comes to prepare for the draft.
Great stuff. Thanks, Evan. We appreciate the time.
Thanks, Evan.
Thanks, guys. See ya.
Evan Bland of the Omaha World Herald. Good stuff on Husker football and Husker baseball. We have one more segment left, Mike.
Wait, we do?
Yeah, so we better do it. Otherwise, we'll get fired or something. So we'll do it. We'll talk about sports on this show. Husker Rewind. Mike Melby, Tom Stevens, more. Our last segment next.
Go Hog Wild Pit Barbecue.
It's $5.99 barbecue time. Hurry to Hog Wild for a complete barbecue meal that's only $5.99. Get a one-meat sandwich loaded with our award-winning barbecue, plus your choice of a classic side and drink for just $5.99. Upgrade your sandwich to beef brisket for just $1 more. Join us for lunch or dinner in Lincoln at 3210 Cornhusker Highway. Order online at GoHogWild.com.
But don't be late, we close at 8.
Buckle up and hang on. This is going to be a good one.
The fans of Kansas Speedway know how to have a good time. One that celebrates fantastic finishes and family-friendly facilities. Trading paint.
We got feuding
and tailgating tradition. Burnouts, beer, and barbecue. Oh, it'll for sure be a good time, and you are all invited. NASCAR weekend at Kansas Speedway, May 4th and 5th. Get your tickets now at kansasspeedway.com.
Tanner's Bar and Grill is the perfect place to watch your favorite MLB teams this spring and summer, as well as Nebraska baseball. Enjoy Tanner's delicious hamburgers, chicken lips, and daily specials, and wash it down with one of their tons of options of beers. You'll never have an issue finding the game, as there are TVs everywhere throughout the space. So get in early and grab your spot and settle in for an afternoon or evening of baseball at Tanner's Bar and Grill, 30th and Yankee Hill. Ever wish you had another light switch on the other side of the room on a dark night? How much better would you sleep at night if you had a ceiling fan in your room? The High Electric Service Department is here to make your electrical what-ifs a reality. Whether you're looking to replace some outdated light fixtures or brighten up your counters with under-cabinet lighting, High Electric can handle all types of residential electrical installations and services. Give Erica a call at 402-466-6606 or visit high-electric.com to get started.
Hey, Husker Nation, Matt Davison here with 1890. It's an exciting time to be a Husker fan, and to keep that momentum going, we need your help. Nebraska's always been a leader in college athletics, and we're doing the same through name, image, and likeness. NIL is a unique opportunity for every Husker fan to have a direct impact on the success of our programs. Through 1890, 100% of your contribution goes to the student athletes. So go to 1890nebraska.com, choose your sport, become a member, and help the Huskers recruit and retain the best. Go Big Red.
The captain, Vershawn Jackson.
Mike Minner. What's up, bro?
When you look at Dylan, you're looking at quarterbacks that kind of come around once every 20 years. And this is a kid I'm looking at, I don't know how old he is, 17, 18 years old. And he is already directing things that 17, 18-year-old kids should not even know. Changing the line protection. Okay, guys, I don't know what we've been 2 weeks of practice. Come on, man. Well, we got guys in the National Football League that can't do that.
Hey there, fellas. It's your girl Jordan with Sartor Heyman Jewelry. Women may be complicated, but I make sure buying jewelry isn't. Your gal has a style, and you can figure this out. Is she more of a classic necklace kind of gal, or does she rock the boho chic vibe with layers of delicate bracelets? This is crucial intel. Not trusting your intel? Stop in the store and we'll sort out the details. I promise to make this super easy. Until next time, this is Jordan at Sartor Heyman Jewelry. Happy shopping, guys.
Soulful Casino in Havelock is a family-owned business, providing incredible food and service that'll have you craving more with every bite. Soulful Casino offers everything from pulled pork to fried chicken, catfish, ribs, and even quesadillas. You want sides? They've got them. From fries, green beans and baked beans, to collard greens, potato salad, and sweet dill corn. Stop by for lunch as they have specials Tuesday through Friday from 11 to 2 p.m. That's Soulful Casino, located in Havelock, where every bite you take fills the soul.
The Mill Coffee and Tea, formerly with only 4 Lincoln locations. Guess what?
What?
There's 5 Lincoln locations now. Oh my gosh. That's 25% more Lincoln locations than there used to be. Can you even imagine a world where there's only 4 Lincoln Mill locations? Feels like ages ago. We were all so young then. The Mill on 11th, located right alongside 93.7 The Ticket Studios, 1040 O Street.
This is Sunday Rewind on 93.7 The Ticket and theticketfm.com.
Welcome back to Husker Rewind here on 93.7 The Ticket, ticketfm.com. I'm Mike Melby. That's Tom Stevens. Hey! Final segment for the 5th to last show of the spring.
Oh, you're counting down. 5th to last show. But to do a big blowout party on the last one.
Yeah.
Maybe do a live remote or something.
Yeah, if you have a restaurant in town, you want to have us come down on a Sunday on May 19th, and we'll just do a big party.
Let's do it.
Yeah. Interesting. Did you see that the national champion head coach, the cheater himself, Mr. Jim Harbaugh, got himself a tattoo?
Oh, what? Wolverine?
No, it's not a badger that he's going to have to turn into a Spartan. A little slam there on Chucky. At any rate, it is the Michigan M, the block M, and then right below it, 15-0.
Well, that's cool, I guess.
So,
do you think that Michigan will just wilt, like turn into nothing? Now that Harbaugh's gone? Or think they'll be good still?
I don't think they made a good coaching hire.
I don't either, but they felt like they had to make that hire.
They're not going to wilt.
I think they felt like they had to make that hire because they knew Harbaugh was leaving and they didn't want everybody to just jump in the portal. So they hired a guy that was already on staff.
Yeah. I don't know. Michigan's going to be a bit of an enigma for the next couple of years, I think. You may see them continue to have a lot of success, maybe not 15-0 national title, but I would wager a safe amount of money that they're going to be in the 12-team college football playoff next year.
It's going to be harder to win now that Harbaugh's not stealing every sign and taking every guy away from you via the portal, like calling. I mean, we know that he called people.
Ernest Hausman.
Allegedly.
Yeah, allegedly.
Remember Ernest Hausman had that 15 tackle game or whatever it was against Michigan, and then suddenly leaves to Michigan?
Yeah.
Coincidental?
Yeah, and this goes to what you had brought up, that players are going to Coach Rule right now and saying, Coach, this is a head coach at the University of, and this is their text message to me.
Yeah,
I mean,
it's
like they're literally directly contacting players, tampering, and the NCAA hasn't had teeth in a long time. So
right. It's like they're not punishing us for anything we do via NIL. They probably won't punish us for this.
Yeah.
Let's just text the guy right away. Hey, are you thinking about jumping in the portal? Your team was 5-7 last year. You should come here and we'll give you lots of money.
Yeah. What's your deal? What's your NIL deal there? We can match it or make it better.
It's become so brazen. I mean, we know it's happening because Rule said guys were showing him text messages from other coaches this week. I don't think Rule's lying about that.
No.
I mean, we know cheating has gone on forever. It just seemed like, at least when coaches were cheating back in the old days, Barry Switzer, whatever, they were more honest about the cheating. Maybe they're now going back to that. Like, we're cheating, and here's the text message. We don't care. We just don't care. Maybe they're going back to just honest cheating. I don't know.
It seems like
honest cheating. I like that.
Back in the day, they were a little more sneaky about it. Remember Barry Switzer took Turner Gill and hit him, so Nebraska couldn't find him, or they were trying to. No, Nebraska actually took Turner Gill and hit him, so Barry Switzer couldn't find him.
Yep,
allegedly, but I've heard that confirmed.
Well, the other one that I can't remember what coach it was. I want to say it was Mickey Joseph talking about a player that they kept on the phone. Like in all night.
Yeah, he filibustered him.
He filibustered him so that he couldn't take other phone calls.
That's brilliant.
Yeah.
And Mickey could do it. I mean, you have to have the gift to gab to be able to pull that off. You could do it.
Yeah.
Ernie Chambers could do it. I don't know that I could pull it off. I would be retelling the same stories over and over.
I don't know.
Mickey would be so.
You could get pretty long into the filibuster.
But Mickey would be so interesting that you would, you would believe those stories, or you'd be so into those stories, you'd forget that 3 hours had gone by and then you'd miss 3 other calls, one from Nick Saban.
Yeah. No? I just sit there and tell stories about, the road trips with the Stars and the nights after racing out at Eagles. So there's some stories we can share. Absolutely. Oh, there you go. And it's now 7 a.m. Time for you to sign your letter of intent and fax it in.
It's nice to know that cheating hasn't died in college sports. This is the anniversary of Brooke Behringer's death. He died 28 years ago this past week on the 18th of April, 1996. It doesnn't seem like it's been that long ago, really.
It kind of does for me. I was like, man, I actually thought it's only been 28 years ago.
It did seem. Well, I remember that day vividly when he crashed the plane, the Cessna.
Yeah.
It was an older plane, and he took off. And it immediately stalled. I mean, within the first few minutes, I think, of taking off, it stalled. And then he came down, he crashed in a field. And I think it was pretty instant. Brooke Behringer died at the age of, 22?
Yeah. And interesting. So I'm friends with Jim Ballard, who owns James Arthur Vineyards. And he does some stuff around Halloween where it's kind of a ghost tour. And they have an app that will, supposedly pick up electromagnetic frequencies, etc. And they were doing one several years ago. And one of the responses that they got was Brooke. And within 30 seconds, the next thing they got was 18.
Right.
And his plane crashed about a quarter mile north of where James Arthur Vineyards is.
Right.
Just immediately north of Raymond Road on, I think it was Harry Barr's property, actually.
I forgot that. That's right. That is near James. I knew it was Raymond Road or in Raymond.
Yeah.
But I forgot it was right next to.
Yeah.
James Arthur Vineyards didn't exist at that
time. No, it didn't. But when they were doing kind of their research out there, and they had a paranormal investigator, they had that popped up that it said Brooke, and then the next 30 seconds later, the device said 18.
You talk about the portal, and of course, he was crucial to that 94 championship because you lost your starting quarterback in Tommy Frazier to a blood clot.
Yeah.
And then you lost Brooke to a collapsed lung that same season, and you had to play Matt Turman for one game against Kansas State. Then Behringer came back.
You talk about the best game plan ever. You give it to Lawrence Phillips 38 times and run between the tackles.
When you're that good. Remember those stories about the Nebraska offensive lineman telling the K-State defensive lineman what the play was going to be? Hey, we only have 3 plays because this guy doesn't know the playbook.
I think he knew it. He just didn't have the athletic ability.
He doesn't have the well,
he's not Tommy Frazier.
Yeah, he knows that the other plays that he could run won't be effective because he's 5'8". So we're just going to give it to our best player, Lawrence Phillips, and you can't stop us because we're bigger and badder than you are.
Yep.
And we're going to run that same play to Lawrence Phillips over and over and over again, and we're going to beat you.
Let me ask you this. Do you think had the portal existed in 1995, 94 into 95,
Behringer would have been gone.
I think Behringer would have been gone.
He would have been gone making millions. And by the way, he would have done really well in the NFL draft.
Yeah.
Yeah, he was an NFL style quarterback, and he with mobility.
Yeah, I think he would have been a 3rd to 5th round draft pick.
I agree. I think he could have been a guy that maybe he doesn't start in the NFL for a long period of time, but he would have held a clipboard and been on somebody's roster because he was so bright.
I don't know, man. I think he may have.
You think
done more? I think he may have done more than hold a clipboard.
Well, he was really athletic, and he obviously played in an offense that didn't cater to passing, and yet he still passed pretty well in the offense.
Yeah.
And Nebraska, again, they don't win the national title in 94, if not for 94 season, 95 championship. Well, they played in the 95 Orange Bowl, but it was the 94 season. But they don't win it without Brooke Behringer.
Granted, he's the one that was in that position, but if Brooke doesn't come to Nebraska, there's another quarterback ahead of Matt Turman, more than likely, that would have had to have stepped into that role.
But would he have beaten Colorado? Would that guy have beaten Colorado? Brooke played really well in that Colorado game to win it. And Colorado was great. Wasn't it 1-2? I think it was 1-2 in 94.
Yeah.
In Lincoln, Nebraska. I remember that game vividly. Cordell Stewart versus Brooke Behringer. I mean, they were loaded.
Was Rashawn Salam on that team?
I think Rashawn Salam I think that was Bieniemy, but I'm not sure if that was Salam or Bieniemy.
I don't know.
You want to look it up?
I'm going to look it up if we can get out of here, because I know we're pressed for time. But
while you look it up, we can get out of here. Hey, it's been a fun show. Big thanks to Tom Chattel and Evan Bland of the Omaha World Herald and Lance Harvell, Nebraska assistant baseball coach. The Huskers win 16-4 today. They improved to 8-4 in the league. They're second to Illinois in the standings. Hey, if you'd have told me that at the start of the year, I'd have taken it. I think a lot of people picked Nebraska 4th or 5th in the league this year, so to be second is not bad. Got to shore up some pitching, and then who knows?
Vance Joseph was on that team. Coy Detmer, Rashawn Salam, Ray Caruth.
Oh, who didn't have a good end to things went sour for Ray Caruth.
Yeah.
Good call, Mike. Way to go.
All righty. Have yourself a week, man.
Yeah, we are leaving. We'll see you next Sunday night, 5 to 7, Husker Rewind. Bye-bye.
See you.
Power combo BOGO? Huh?
Yes, if you purchase an air conditioner, you receive a furnace completely free. At John Henry's, our professionals want to ensure you are comfortable in your home all year long, no matter what Nebraska has to throw at us. Call today to schedule your free estimate and learn more about the free furnace waiting for you. Give John Henry's a call today.
435-5555. John Henry's Plumbing, Heating and Air.
And electrical.
Hi, it's Tom and Mike from Husker Rewind. And did you know that people who are represented by an attorney are often compensated up to 3 times more than someone who is not?
Friedman Law has been helping injured people for over 60 years. It's all they do. If you're ever seriously injured in an accident, call Friedman Law at 402-476-1093.
Friedman Law is a family firm that works hard for Nebraska families just like yours.
So if you're ever injured on the job or in a crash, contact Friedman Law at friedmanlaw.com.
Buckle up and hang on. This is going to be a good one.
The fans of Kansas Speedway know how to have a good time. One that celebrates fantastic finishes and family-friendly facilities. Trading paint.
We got feuding
and tailgating tradition. Burnouts, beer, and barbecue. Oh, it'll for sure be a good time, and you are all invited. NASCAR weekend at